Marc is always trying to find teachable moments, and it doesn't matter the topic or the time, but Marc is constantly focused on learning and teaching.
I went off to college with full intentions to become an attorney, and then ended up being a substitute teacher for an 8th grade religious school class at Temple Sinai in Oakland. And I walked into that classroom, an attorney in training, and I walked out a classroom educator.
I first met Marc as a sophomore at San Francisco State University. I was a marketing major at the time, set to go into luxury brand management, and I took Introduction to Jewish Studies to fulfill a cultural requirement for my major. And it really changed the way I thought about myself and thought about my community and thought about the role I could play in that community.
I really enjoyed being a non-Jewish student in a Jewish classroom because I had the feeling that I could bring an interesting new perspective to the topics we were talking about in class, but also I got to know different Jewish perspectives from my other classmates.
I think education is a social experience, and that is if your students are engaged with one another and their instructor in a trusting atmosphere, then they're going to learn more and they're going to enjoy it too.
The Crayola Crayon Company called it flesh. Then they realized, as you were pointing out, that not all people are the equivalent of white, so they renamed it peach. Anyone remember?
Professor Dollinger is famous for his 2 Crayola crayons lectures. So at the beginning of the semester, he would always deliver one lecture about the importance of Crayola crayons. And at the end of the semester, he would talk about Crayola crayons.
Indian red, and we wondered, wow, where's Caucasian white, Mexican brown, Asian yellow, right? And I just want you to have a little bit of humility to know, as smart as you are now, there's still Indian red hanging out there, and your educations don't end in this class, they don't end at this university. In fact, it is a lifelong pursuit. Good afternoon and welcome to Jewish Studies in the Crayola.
As you might imagine, Jewish life at SF State is intensely political.
This campus went through some extraordinarily difficult times. We got put on National Hillel's list as the most anti-Semitic campus in the United States.
For me, coming from the Midwest, the whole issue of the campus debate about Jewish studies, about divestment, about boycotts and things like that was a very new experience for me. I would often call Marc and say, I don't get this. How do I think better about it?
Marc has been invaluable in helping sort of sandwich with Hillel and the Jewish Studies Department in helping Jewish students work through difficult times on campus.
One of Marc Dollinger's significant contributions to the campus has been to work with the administration and with other faculty in supporting Jewish students, giving them a voice, giving them counsel, going to bat for them when they were being attacked.
Anytime there was any threat or perceived threat to Jewish students or Jewish life, that the president would call together what we called the family, and it included JCRC. For me, as a professor of Jewish studies at SF State, JCRC is one deep breath. It's the knowledge of knowing that whatever could come down on campus for us will be met and partnered with an organization that will stand up and make the fight privately or publicly that we need to have made.
For years, Doug and I have been meeting with Marc at the Dipsy Cafe. And we get together and over eggs and hash browns, we bring out our 3 agendas. There's the behind-the-scenes issues agenda, there's the way behind-the-scenes agenda, and then the really way behind-the-scenes issues that we're going to discuss.
Before I started, Dr. Corrigan took me out to lunch, and he told me, you can spend your whole career in your office writing books and teaching students in the classroom, but I would prefer to have you in the community. We need a public intellectual in Jewish studies.
Marc is very, very special, and we're very fortunate to have him. His feet are on the ground. He has a great sense of the community. And I think his sense of how Jewish studies fits the broader picture of intellectual life, alongside world events, alongside historical events, has been critically important.
Marc has this incredible way of getting out on the table all of the really complicated and interesting ideas. He takes an issue and, like a Rubik's Cube, looks at it from 16 different angles. And just at the moment where you think everything is really complicated, suddenly the strategy and the approach that we need becomes quite clear and very simple.
Marc drills down into what the meaning of a particular action is, or a particular way of thinking, and how that thought process develops, moves the community.
Marc's been very helpful as we develop our approach or a strategy for dealing with very complex and very sensitive community relations issues, from helping us prepare for a debate on KQED's The Forum, dealing with the circumcision ban, to helping us think through issues of Jewish concern in the public schools, to helping us really prepare for, in a very meaningful way, the meetings that we're going to have with other ethnic minority groups.
Marc is not afraid to take on leadership roles. It makes a lot of sense that Marc would be getting the Courageous Leadership Award. As an academic, it's somewhat rare that those individuals blur the lines of academia and lay engagement. Marc takes it on with a vengeance.
Looking ahead, our country, and in fact the world, is facing incredible challenges in intergroup relations. I'm deeply involved now in research on Jews and whiteness and power and privilege and intergroup relations. So I hope going forward that as a public intellectual, I can go into the community and help folks decipher the incredible complex world in which we live.